Welcome back, everybody. Well, this was supposed to be called Porch Talk, but this is our second episode, and I haven't been on the porch yet. So I think what I'm going to maybe change the name to is Behind the Wheel with Matty and Sassy Pants.
I kind of like Porch Talk.
I kind of like Porch Talk, but
Today we're behind the wheel.
And so we last time. So what this is, and what my idea was to do, if you watched the last one, is I want to go back through the month. So this is the end of the month. So go back in the month of October. Go through all the videos, all the comments that are questions. I don't want to write out the answers to the questions in the comment section. So what I want to do is do a video, and we'll just talk through, pick a couple questions out of each video. The first video of this month of October.
The first video in the month of October is we're farming. And the question is, so you can cut the beans and get dumped on at the same time? Question mark?
Remember, Sassy Pants didn't want to be on camera like 15 videos ago, and now she takes the GoPro from out of my hand.
Otherwise
so
it won't be
we're making progress, folks. So Dane was riding with Sierra. They were combining beans out at the Hoffman Farms. That's Sierra's family farm. They're pretty big time operators out there. It's been in the family a long time. The grandpa started back in the 70s, and they've really expanded, and they got a lot of stuff going on. They were combining soybeans, and Sierra was running the grain cart for a while and then running the combine. But yes, you can cut, you can combine, and you can unload on the go into the grain cart. Some of these new ones, and I'm not a farmer, but some of these new ones, the grain cart will sync up with the combine to go the same speed as the tractor with the auto steer. It's pretty scientific and precision ag. Let's leave it at that with the big farming. Dane took a lot of grief because Dane likes to work with his hands. He definitely likes to work with his hands. Sitting in a cab of a tractor is not for Dane. He couldn't sit behind a desk. That's not for him either. So he was riding Sierra pretty hard, but they do get along pretty well, and Hoffman's, they're on a pretty good operation out there.
Let's take a look at the video. Why can't I can't do this anymore. Okay, the question is, I was wondering why you give the cows salt, and what is the benefit to the cows? And a second part from another person that's very similar is, are the mineral blocks and the bagged minerals the same?
Those salt blocks are from Redmond, and that's a natural salt that they mine out there, and it's got minerals right in the salt or in that mining process, and they make them into blocks. We're trying those for the first time this year. The bagged stuff is a Purina product, Wind and Rain. We've used that for quite a few years. It has salt right in the bag, so there's a percentage of salt, and then there's the minerals. It's all supposed to be formulated to be free choice, and the cows are supposed to be able to eat what they need or take in what they need, salt. And some of the minerals, they wouldn't even eat it. If you just put the mineral out there alone, say, a cow might not ever eat it. So you have to kind of hide it or put it in there or put it all in a mix so they get a tiny amount of a certain kind, The benefit to cows is they need salt, just like we do. We get our salt mineral from our foods, and their food source typically is grass, and there's going to be some weeds and forbs and different things in their grass, but they need to be supplemented salt. I don't think they can get enough out of the soil or the grass. Certain times of the year, they definitely want more salt than other times of the year. So
I have an add-on to that. Do you think cows are smarter than humans and only eat what they need? Or as we eat like too often and too much and bad stuff, how about cows? That's my own question.
Cows can be as full as a tick, and you bring them out some more feed or open a gate and they're gonna go keep eating more. So yeah, I don't know about that. But I think they eat salt when they want to eat salt.
Perfect. Alrighty, next question. After you wash your baler, do you grease and oil it good before you put it away for the winter?
You obviously haven't watched me long enough. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. My motto is, it was working when I parked it, so I take off from there. But yeah, we try to clean up some stuff when we can. We're not type A.
The good news is he's pretty good at fixing things when they fall apart, so I guess maybe that's his theory. All right, the next question is about when you're baling. Why don't you use net wrap? Why do you use twine?
I use twine because I don't like to cut it off. We use all sisal. I don't like to mess with it in the wintertime. We do some bale grazing, different things. I just don't like to touch it. Now, if we had to carry over some hay, or if I bought hay, it usually comes net wrapped that way. But most of our feed, we get fed up in 1 year. I'm at the point now where I have as many cows that I eat as much feed as I make. I don't have hundreds and hundreds of bales left over every year. Then I think a guy would probably be better off to have some net wrapped bales, have them in a line, don't stack them, run them north and south, you know, your lines north and south so the sun can get on both sides. But until I get to that point, I'm gonna keep using twine. So the next video was I was welding, I don't even know what I was working on, but it says how I say, oh, a creep feeder. I was fixing a creep feeder. How a rancher saves $2,500, and all the questions in there are directed at Sassy Pants, so I'll let her read them and answer them.
All right, well, first of all, I was quite uncomfortable the first time running the Ranching Sodak channel for more than just a few seconds. It was kind of an adventure. Got to clean out the baler and work on the horses. Thanks for all the fun comments, and there definitely will not be a Sassy Pants channel. I love being a part of this, but definitely is more fitting for Matt and Dane and Cordell. They're much more comfortable and natural, but we're very much enjoying it. So one of the questions is, what are your horses' names? And we have only 2 horses right now. Ratchet is the paint gelding, and Belle is the mare. She's older, she's Cordell's age, she's actually Cordell's horse. Everything else is aged out, retired, or passed away. The horses at our place pretty much are part of how I breathe. You know, I love Matt and the kids, and the next thing is horses and dogs, music, education, things like that. So we're down to 2. I would prefer not to live without a horse, and Matt could probably live without a horse. He did have a really good ranching horse, and she passed away last fall. So that's the horses. The other question was, does Sassy Pants teach full-time? And I did. I've been in education for 30 years. Was a Spanish teacher by trade, taught in a classroom for quite a while, and then I've been in the online world for about 22 years. I was a teacher first and then administrator, a head of school, and then I went independently as an educational consultant, working with schools and with families. I still do a little bit of that. I'd like to grow that a little bit more. I can work with people all over the country because of the online opportunity. And then also with the transition right now, I'm doing more of the ranching with Matt. He's definitely the core of everything, but I'm partnering with him more because the kids are all gone. They're all grown up and doing their own thing. So I'm loving that, but also very interested in being a little more involved with my educational consulting, and I work with our local youth group. I think I'd like to do more with that at a bigger, broader level. So thanks for all your comments all the time, and it was fun to be a bit more part of this video. All right, we're gonna look at the video, a whole year of feed in 1 day. Silage chopping video with our little cameraman Jimmy, and several other projects. So one question was, do you use 2-year-old hay for bedding?
So I had a lot of comments about little Jimmy there helping me, and we were kind of bouncing all over the place that day because the choppers were there, and we were trying to get some rye seed and get a drill ready to go, and working on a water, and then trying to babysit him. And it was fun to have Jimmy around there. He's my niece's son. So the bedding, we really don't bed a lot. We'll bed our calves a little bit, and typically what I use there is just slew hay or CRP hay. Some of that hay that we talked about, prairie cord grass, it's a grass that grows kind of in the lower areas in the native prairie. The cattle won't eat it because it's got sharp, I don't know what the correct terms are, but it's got real sharp kind of sticker pokey things on the blades. If you run your hand one way, you know, and then the other way it kind of cuts your finger. So they won't eat it, but it's pretty plentiful when you go to hay it. That's typically what I use for bedding, is that slough or that prairie cordgrass hay, but typically not a lot of bedding. Once Sassy Pants got this camera last time, I didn't know if we were ever going to get her back there for a second, guys, so luckily I did.
Yeah, sorry about that. I kind of went into my teacher mode. Okay, so there was a question about what's your favorite Seinfeld episode, and I do want to mention Seinfeld. A fun fact about Matt is when I met him, we had been dating about a month, and I said, if Matt did not know Kramer from Seinfeld, he may not have much to say, because most often he was making a reference or a reflection to Seinfeld and definitely to Kramer. So somewhere in our first year of dating, I gave him a big poster of Kramer, and it to this day is still a part of our life out in the shop. And so let's talk about that. Matt, tell us a little bit about your relationship with Seinfeld.
It's a deep and long-lasting relationship I've had with Seinfeld. I think I've watched them all multiple times. I don't really have a favorite. There's parts of all of them that I like. So
we're taking a look at the video, Protecting Our Cow Chow. The first question is, does this feed cover all your bred cows for the whole winter?
Who the heck knows? You never know what the winter's gonna bring, or if a guy would be able to pick up another lease or something. But we planted all the corn to be chopped for silage. We chopped it all, and then we covered up. So if we carry some over, hopefully it's still good. I like the bag deal we did last year for some carryover. The tires on top of the pile. Do you want to read the next question, or I gotta just keep going?
I was gonna say, maybe part of the thought on that question is, do you have to feed your cows other stuff? Like, is this all they get? That could be what they're thinking.
You know, we got all those bales too, and we try to do some grazing, and naughty girl, spank yourself. Read the next
Good
question.
heavens. Okay. The next question, why do you put tires on the tarp? Is it just to hold the tarp down, or are there other purposes for them?
As far as I know, it's just to hold it down from blowing away. It's a pain in the neck when they freeze down and mess with in the wintertime. We did put quite a few rings, but they're pretty light, so you got to layer them on, but it is easier to carry them. So we do the dirt around the edge, like you saw with the skid steer. That keeps it pretty tight and shuts off the air if you get a nice little windrow of dirt around the whole thing at the bottom, and then tires on top to keep the wind from flapping it around.
Alrighty, next question. Did you plant grain rye or annual ryegrass? You'll remember that we went behind the chopper, basically same day and the next day, and planted some rye. So what'd you plant?
Yeah, it's just rye. As far as I know, it's grain rye. I mean, it's not ryegrass. So it's rye that's for grain that we're gonna hope to get a cutting or just keep the ground weed free before we get into the field next spring. If we have a real wet, prolonged spring where we get some growth off of it, we'll go ahead and cut it, chop it, and then go and plant a forage corn or sorghum or something back in there.
All right, and the last question is related to under the silage pile. So it says, why don't you pour concrete slab and put some concrete blocks around that slab to put your corn silage in, like as a bunker?
Concrete is kind of that's a taboo word for me, because as soon as it comes out of the truck and gets hard, the value of that concrete went to almost nothing. I mean, it's useless
for someone else,
for anybody else. So I'm anti-concrete unless it's in front of my shop or in front of my garage. It just doesn't. It's just expensive, and there's no way to get out of it. You cannot sell it again. You can't do anything with it. So over the years, I don't know that you'd save much. We're on a hill. We have a lot of clay. We're on top of a hill. We're able to feed in the spring and not make a big mess, and it wouldn't be worth it, in my opinion.
All right, talking about the video, turning old cows into new cash. And the first question is, Maddie, did you get a new mustache or just a darker one?
I think what happens is when I actually trim my beard down and get all the grays off my cheeks and my whiskers on my chin, then my mustache looks a little darker. But I have threatened to use the Just for Men mustache dye, but I haven't brought myself to that yet. I'm just gonna kind of go salt and pepper for a while, I guess.
I think you should just age naturally. Call it, that's just the way you're meant to be. Alrighty, next question. How do I buy merch?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've been requesting my assistant over here to get the link up, and it's really close. I think it's going to be ranchingsodak.com, and it's going to be a Shopify link, and we're going to have some stuff there for you guys to buy and kind of support us a little bit. Details to come. I think my plan is to put a little video in that Shopify website. We're going to do some mission work this winter, so I'm going to donate a little bit from each purchase from you guys to take down to Christian outreach in Mexico. we're going to go down there for a few days and spread the good word and do a little work on an orphanage and some things down there, maybe a church. So, but stay tuned. We need some patience to get it all figured out. We're going to package it ourselves, and it just takes a little time.
And I do have to take the blame for most of the time being taken trying to figure out how to do that and do it well. So sometime soon. Next question is, after you feed, the bedding cost, all the other things, etc. Genuinely curious, do you make any money?
Some years, yeah. Some years you make money, some years you don't. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Yeah, you're gaining equity, you're living your life and your ranch, and some years are great, some years you just get to do it again.
And the last question we're going to talk about on this video is, why don't you keep your heifers?
So the heifer deal, we've been breeding Wagyu for terminal cross, which means they're all going into the meat market. Heifers and steers are all getting fattened and killed for meat. And with the Wagyu thing, I don't know that I would want to have my cows be half Wagyu. Maternally wise, I think maybe they'd be okay, but we're trying to just stay with good broody Angus type cows, and we've been just buying them, trying to buy young cows, and that's what our program's been. We have kept a few heifers, but I'm not chasing any genetics like some of these guys get, where they're chasing a genetic path. I'm not into that right now. So
let's take a look at some questions and comments from the video It's Finally Happening. This video is the start of our hoop shed, which we've been waiting for, pretty excited about, putting the working facility inside of. And many of the questions, I'm not going to read them all separately, are asking and talking about the strength and ability for this building to last in general and in South Dakota with snow, wind, and the such like. So what do you think, Matt?
Who knows? Good question. This company's been around a long time. It's out of Canada. The snow deal, we don't get snow that comes straight down in South Dakota. I mean, we might get a dusting that falls 2-3 inches that with no wind, but we get wind all the time. And then there's going to be no snow going to stay on top of the building if the wind's blowing 20 or 30 mile an hour. Typically, I think they do get, the tarps will get in trouble if they're rubbed or get any, a start of something and get them loose. They could get ripped off or whatever, but they last. They're warranted for X amount of years. The tarps are warranted for X amount of years. The one we built, I think, is the best company out there, but not too concerned. I wouldn't put one on top of a hill with no trees around it and think it would be okay, but we're going to be tucked in there, so I feel like we're going to be all right.
All right, another kind of related question. It's about the building as well. How long will those poles last before they start rotting out at the bottom?
There again, who knows? I mean, I think this green treat is not as good as it was 50 years ago or whatever with the creosote, but what do you do? I mean, you got to build stuff. You can't just hope and not do it. I mean, we got to do it and see. We're on top of a hill. We put some concrete in the bottom. They were tamped with clay. Our soil is not super acidic or whatever, so I don't think that's going to cause any problem. It's not going to be in a feedlot where there's going to be manure up against them all the time. So I'm hoping it's there for as long as we're around. So, but there again, time will tell. You can't sit on the sideline and wait. You got to do her, I guess, if you want it.
All right, this is a question about Matt's poems, reciting the poems. I have to say he's a pretty cute cowboy, and I'm really proud of him. I do not have that skill to memorize poems like that or tell them with the right voice and the right tone and time and all that. So he does a pretty great job. This is the question: where do all your poems come from?
I don't write them. I find them. If they kind of tickle my funny bone a little bit, I'll listen to them, memorize them. So I should probably say who the authors are of them, but I think I screw them up enough, so I'm not really copywriting them word for word, so I think I'm okay. But I might start doing that, let you guys know who the authors are of them poems, to give them the credit they deserve for writing them. But yeah, I don't write them. If I ever do write one, I'll probably tell you that I do. But
wondering about if we're going to add any hide behind protectors for our humans to jump behind in case of a mean cow.
So in that back bud box in the building, on the back side of the building, there's going to be a person hide behind rail along there. And so we will along the south side of the building to keep them off of the tin. So those are two things we got to do. I wanted to get the tin on before we start building stuff in front of it. So everything's kind of a process, and I have 32 processes in between the processes that I have to get to. So all in due time, all in due time.
All right, well, I can tell you a quick story about in due time. We bought a ceiling fan one time, and
what is this now, girl?
it didn't get put in until my anniversary, our anniversary, 7 years later.
It's good.
But it works great. This question is info on the post pounder. For this project we were using Phil's post pounder, so the question is info and what's your feedback on it?
Yep, we got a big king hitter, but it was Curtis was borrowing it, so Phil brought his over. I like mine. It's big and bulky. It'll pound about anything, but Phil's was pretty handy to get in the tighter areas. It's a Texas vibrating pounder, which is similar to the Montana. Phil said that he would probably go back to a Montana. He thought the pounder itself was heavier built and a little heavier, the whole apparatus. But from what I saw, that Texas one, it pounded stuff just fine. Well, that looks like all the questions for last month's videos. What I like you guys to do is watch our videos twice a week. Leave a comment, leave a question pertaining to those videos, and then at the end of the month I'm going to go through them just like this and I'll answer your question. So got the wipers on, she's raining. We're heading home, had a good weekend. So thanks for tuning in. I'm tired, so that's why I'm not quite as peppy as I usually am. Sassy Pants puts on a pretty good face, so even when she's tired, but I not so much. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. The merch is coming. Please bear with us. It will be coming. Which I know you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't advertise your merch before it's ready to go, Matt. But anyways, thanks for tuning in. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.